Hi everyone, I'm Linda Reimer, one of the librarians at the Southeast Steuben County Library. Welcome to Library Connections, our weekly readers, viewers, and listeners advisory video cast. Enjoy. Library Connections number 26, hosted by SSCL librarian Linda Reimer. This video cast is being recorded on Thursday, October 22nd, 2020. Jumping right in with the top 5 fiction bestsellers for this week from the New York Times. At number 1, A Time for Mercy by John Grisham, the third book in the Jake Brigham series. A 16-year-old is accused of killing a deputy in Clinton, Mississippi in 1990. At number 2, The Return by Nicholas Sparks. A doctor serving in the Navy in Afghanistan goes back to North Carolina, where 2 women change his life. At number 3, The Searcher by Tanya French. After a divorce, a former Chicago police officer resettles in an Irish village where a boy goes missing. At number 4, The Evening and the Morning by Ken Follett. In a prequel to The Pillars of the Earth, a boat builder, a Norman noblewoman, and a monk live in England under attack by both the Welsh and the Vikings. And at number 5, Troubles in Paradise by Ellen Hilderbrand, the final installment of the trilogy that includes Winter in Paradise and What Happens in Paradise. And moving on to our nonfiction top 5 for the week, at number 1, Caste by Isabel Wilkerson. The Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist examines aspects of caste systems across civilizations and reveals a rigid hierarchy in America today. At number 2, Is This Anything? By Jerry Seinfeld. The comedian shares material he collected in an accordion folder over the last 45 years. At number 3, Untamed by Glennon Doyle. The activist and public speaker describes her journey of listening to her inner voice. At number 4, Killing Crazy Horse by Bill O'Reilly and Martin Dugard, the 9th book in the conservative commentator's Killing series, focuses on conflicts with Native Americans. And at number 5, Blackout by Candace Owens. The conservative commentator makes her case that Black Americans should part ways with the Democratic Party. And before I jump into our recommended reads, just a note on the subject of recommended reads. I'm changing the Library Connections format just a little bit. Since the inception of this video cast earlier this year, during the pandemic when our library was closed to the public, our recommended reading titles have all been eBooks. And of course, the reason for that was because you couldn't actually go to the library and check things out. So eBooks you could check out through the digital catalog at any time. But now that our library will be reopening to the public for people to drop in and browse, and that is this coming Monday, October 26th, I'm going to switch this out and make the recommended reads all be print books that you can request through StarCat or via the StarCat app yourself if you'd like to. Digital fans shouldn't worry though, as I've also created a new section for eBooks and audiobooks that you can access both from the digital catalog, also known as OverDrive, and from Hoopla. And we'll get to those formats a little further down the road in this video cast. But just as a quick FYI to start with, here we see at left a photo of StarCat. That's the catalog of physical library materials, including print books, DVDs, and music CDs. And at right, you see the companion apps for StarCat, which are indeed called BookMine. So they have a different title for them. Why they did that, I have no idea. But rest assured, if you download the BookMine app from the Apple or Android store to your phone or tablet, you will be able to access StarCat and quickly place holds on physical items at your convenience. So having said that, let's jump right into our recommended reads for this week. Our first recommended read for this week is the novel Just Like You by Nick Hornsby. Lucy is a 40-ish single white mother of preteen sons who teaches English in a racially mixed North London high school and whose ex-husband has ongoing dependency problems. In the weeks leading up to Brexit, two men enter her life. Michael Marwood is an age-appropriate mid-list author whose background and interests closely align with Lucy's. Joseph is a young black butcher shop employee whose many part-time jobs also include coaching soccer and mixing music at a trendy night spot. Not too surprisingly, Lucy has very little chemistry with Michael, but sparks fly with Joseph. What begins as a sizzling affair, sustained by Sex and the Sopranos, evolves into a deeper relationship that soon falls under intense scrutiny by their families, Lucy's colleagues, and Joseph's hipster friends. All of the characters in this wonderful novel are endearing. Most of them, including Joseph's judgmental mother and Lucy's guileless, sports-crazy sons, are also smart and funny. A few minor characters are racist and provide some timely Black Lives Matter moments. Verdict. Filled with laugh-out-loud charm, Hornsby's movie-ready follow-up to State of the Union is a hopeful balm for our unsettled post-pandemic times. And that is the Starred Library Journal review of the book. And it just sounds like a hopeful and fun book. So it's definitely going on my to-read list, and I recommend it to you too. Our second recommended read for this week is a mystery. It's called The Orphan's Guilt by Archer Mayer. Bestseller Mayer's solid 31st Joe Gunther novel begins with a DUI arrest along a Vermont road. The case of John Rust, a repeat offender, appears to be open and shut until his lawyer, hotshot Brattlesboro defense attorney Scott Jacek, angles for a way to appeal to the jury's sympathy. Jacek hires PI Sally Kravitz to check out the death of John's invalid brother Peter, to whom he was devoted and who died on the day of John's arrest. Peter's death was apparently the result of complications suffered during a childhood brain injury. But Kravitz comes up with evidence suggesting it was murder, as she uncovers the troubling truth behind Peter's condition and John's drinking. Gunther, head of the Vermont Bureau of Investigation, and his team step in to investigate. Meanwhile, someone has come a long way to finish his business with the Rust brothers, and he has little to lose after so many years. Mayer expertly intertwines murder with a view of life off the beaten path. This long-running series continues to impress, and that's the publisher's weekly review. And on a reader's note, if you'd like to start reading at the beginning of the series, the first book in the series is titled Open Season by Archer Mayer. And moving on to a bonus recommended read for this week, this particular title is available in print, ebook, and downloadable audiobook format. It's a hopeful nonfiction title, which is why I selected it. It's called What Unites Us: Reflections on Patriotism by Dan Rather and Elliot Kirshner. This book was originally published in 2017, but I think it's as relevant and valid today as it was then. There is no question that America has become deeply divided over race, religion, economics, and of course politics. The polarization has become so extreme, It has led rather to wonder what it means to love one's country in this time of relentlessly bleak rhetoric and flashpoint violence. The essential values that have long formed our national character seem to have been misplaced, and rather, with journalist Kirshner, undertakes the search for those bedrock rallying points by reminding readers how they came to be in the first place. From his vantage point as one of this country's most revered broadcasters, rather analyzes the current state of disconnected discourse in a series of reflective essays that go to the heart of what it means to be an American. From empathy to immigration, education to the environment, politics to the press, institutions and attitudes that were once unassailable are now endangered. Rather views them as a child of the Great Depression and as a chronicler of the definitive events of the past 60 years. While he spares no disdain for the forces that currently threaten the best America has to offer, he extols those who continue to cherish and protect its abiding foundations. Honest and heartfelt, Rather's is a reliably reassuring voice in times of turmoil. And that is our bonus recommendation for this week, available, as I mentioned, in print format, also ebook and audiobook format. Moving on to our digital section, our OverDrive recommendations for the week. OverDrive recommendations will consist of ebooks and downloadable audiobooks available through the digital catalog or via the Libby or OverDrive apps. At left, you see a photo of the digital catalog, so you can jump on your computer and check out books, download them to your computer, or send them to your e-reader. At right, you see the two OverDrive apps, Libby and OverDrive. Libby is for newer devices, OverDrive is for older devices. And if you think that white screen is a little bright, I would agree with you. In the future, I will just jump into the recommendations, but I wanted to catch everyone's attention this week with the white page, so I think we've done that, and now let's move right along. Our first OverDrive recommendation for this week is a downloadable audiobook. It's called The Exiles, a novel written by Christina Baker Klein and read by Caroline Lee. In the gripping latest from Klein, three women try to carve out lives in mid-19th century colonial Australia. Aborigine Mathena is 8 years old when she's seen by the wife of the governor of an English settlement on a visit to her homeland, Wilhelmina. After learning Mathena can speak English, the woman decides to take her back to Flinders in southern Australia as both a curiosity and an experiment in forced civilization. Meanwhile, in London, Evangeline is the orphan daughter of a vicar working as a governess to the children of a wealthy family. But after Evangeline is seduced by the family's eldest son and her secret pregnancy is discovered, she is arrested, held in Newgate prison, and sentenced to transport to the penal colonies of Australia. She shares the voyage to her new life with Hazel, the hardscrabble daughter of a midwife who turns her knowledge of medicine into an asset aboard the ship. The narratives converge when their ship docks in Van Diemen's Land, modern-day Tasmania, where Mathena, who has been adopted by the island's governor, now lives. The women, all brought to their new lives against their wills, become a lens through which to see the development of colonial Australia. Filled with surprising twists, empathetic prose, and revealing historical details, Klein's resonant, powerful story will please any historical fiction fan. So if you like historical fiction, this is a good one to check out. Our second OverDrive recommendation for the week is also a downloadable audiobook. This one is nonfiction. It's called Owls of the Eastern Ice, a quest to find and save the world's largest owl. It's written and read by Jonathan C. Slate. Slate recounts his 5-year study of Blakestone's fish owls, raptors, notable for their large size, rarity, and habitat in southeastern Russia. The author, now the Russia and Northeast Asia coordinator for the Wildlife Conservation Society, is a young PhD candidate looking for a research topic when the book begins. He's essentially starting from scratch, since so little was known about the birds. As fine a writer as he is a scientist, Slate gives the narrative an enticing structure. It's well into the book before he gets a good look at the cryptic species. Information about fish owl behavior and biology is gradually revealed as his knowledge expands. Readers learn much about the vagaries of scientific fieldwork, including the worries caused by severe weather, equipment failure, and project funding issues. While the birds are marvelous, there's a compelling human side to the story as well, as Slate describes his interaction with local scientists and research assistants. Verdict: Slate's extensive field research is rendered into clear, readable prose, making it a solid choice for bird lovers, but also for armchair travelers looking for eco-adventure on the fringes of civilization. So if you're a bird lover or an armchair traveler, check this one out. And of course, that's the Library Journal review of the audio. Moving on to our streaming recommendations for this week, our first recommendation is Mr. Holland's Opus from 1995, available through Disney+. They really don't make them like they used to. Stephen Herrick's would-be symphony of Oscar bait earned Richard Dreyfuss an Academy Award nomination for his tense, determined performance as a public high school music teacher. A $31 million movie about a public high school music teacher. But Mr. Holland's Opus was always meant to play the long game. Like its namesake, this sweet and sweeping old-fashioned American melodrama left an impression on the generation of kids who saw it back in the day. And now some of those kids have kids of their own and might find themselves singing a version of Beautiful, 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 Coolly late some nights. And no, I can't sing. But getting back to the movie, hypothetically, even if you don't have a taste for the saccharine stuff, this movie is worth it for the late Glenn Headley and the early William H. Macy alone. And that is the IndieWire review of the film. I have, of course, seen this one myself, and it is very good. It's hopeful at its core. I like that word hopeful this week. So keeping in mind the word hopeful, our second streaming recommendation for this week is Star Trek Discovery Season 3, which is available through CBS All Access. The first 2 seasons of Star Trek Discovery were set 10 years prior to Star Trek the original series and introduced Commander Michael Burnham, named after her father, and the Discovery crew. The first and second seasons offered a great roller coaster ride as Michael Burnham tried to stop a war between the Federation and the Klingon Empire, and with disastrous results, and was then assigned to the USS Discovery, reporting to Captain Gabriel Lorca. After that, the crew traveled to a parallel universe where they discovered their captain wasn't quite who they thought he was. The crew then returned home and encountered a mysterious Red Angel, while also finding that Discovery had become a ship that brought new meaning to the words artificial intelligence. At the end of Season 2, in an attempt to save the galaxy, Michael, wearing a special spacesuit, with the Discovery crew following in the ship, entered a wormhole and traveled into the future. Michael came out of the wormhole, nearly collided with ships engaged in combat above a planet, was then able to land on the planet and found that their mission was successful. The galaxy had been saved. And Michael had traveled 930 years into the future. Michael tries to contact Discovery and realizes that the ship has not yet arrived, despite the fact that they traveled through the wormhole together. Thus begins the adventure of the third season of Star Trek Discovery. And episode 1 of season 3, which made its debut last week, kicks off a story arc that is the epitome of Star Trek, as the Starfleet true believers have undiminished hope for the future. And hope is something viewers can surely appreciate in 2020. Episodes of the new season make their debut weekly on Thursdays. Additionally, seasons 1 and 2 are also available to stream through CBS All Access, as are all the episodes of all the other Star Trek TV series. And yes, I love Star Trek, but this was a very hopeful episode, and I think it's going to be a hopeful season, so I recommend it. Our final streaming recommendation for this week is the newly released What the Constitution Means to Me, and it's available through Amazon Prime Video. The playwright and actress Heidi Schreck's What the Constitution Means to Me ended its Broadway run last year. But before it closed, the director Marielle Heller filmed the production. Based on Schreck's own memories of competing in debates about the U.S. Constitution as a teenager, the play has Schreck talking to the audience about how her own family history and her subsequent life experiences led her to a different understanding as an adult about how the government does and doesn't protect its citizens. With Broadway still shut down, and with calls for profound social change very much in the air, this document of a new American classic should make for a thrilling night of theater at home. And finally, we have our Hoopla recommendation for this week. This week, the format is a downloadable audiobook available for instant checkout through Hoopla. It's the new John Banville mystery called Snow, written, of course, by Banville and read by John Lee. The incomparable Booker Prize winner's next great crime novel, the story of a family whose secrets resurface when a parish priest is found murdered in their ancestral home. Detective Inspector St. John Strafford has been summoned to County Wexford to investigate a murder. A parish priest has been found dead in Ballyglass House, the family seat of the aristocratic, secretive Osborne family. The year is 1957, and the Catholic Church rules Ireland with an iron fist. Strafford, flinty, which also means stoic, visibly Protestant, and determined to identify the murderer, faces obstruction at every turn, from the heavily accumulating snow to the culture of silence in this tight-knit community. As he delves further, he learns the Osbornes are not at all what they seem to be. And when his own deputy goes missing, Strafford must work to unravel the ever-expanding mystery before the community's secrets, like the snowfall itself, threaten to obliterate everything. That sounds like a really great mystery. Definitely going on my reading list as compared to listening list, but you can get the audiobook version now through Hoopla. Moving on to our Odd Duck recommendations for this week, and I do have two quick things to bring to your attention. The first is that early voting begins in Steuben County this Saturday, October 24th. For more information about early voting, you can visit the Steuben County website, then click on Departments and Services. Under that menu, Departments and Services A to D, and finally Board of Elections. And you can access all the information they have there about how to vote. You can also call the Steuben County Board of Elections at 607-664-2260 if you have questions. But just know that early voting in Steuben County begins this Saturday, October 24th. There are hours daily, as you see on your screen, through Sunday, November 1st. So if you didn't get an absentee ballot and you don't want to wait in line on election day, Early voting just might be the ticket. And our second duck for this week is a twist on the holidays in the Crystal City. You may very well have heard that the Sparkle of Christmas and the Parade of Lights have been canceled for this year, but the Gaffer District is still putting on some festive things. So if you go to gafferdistrict.com, events, and Crystal City traditions, you'll be able to check them out. I'm going to show you just a quick clip of that in just a second here on the next screen. So here we have the Gaffer District website. There's a lot of neat information on here. We're going to go to the events menu at the top of the page here. It says about COVID-19 resources and then events. And click on the plus there and you get two options. And we want Crystal City Traditions because that's where the Crystal City Christmas info is. So here we have Crystal City Traditions. And if you scroll down, the Gaffer District is letting you know here what exactly is going on during the holiday season so you can still be involved. They have several Facebook pages, both for restaurants, and they're doing a share your memories and photos type thing on Facebook. So definitely check out the Gaffer District site and the Crystal City Traditions page on the site. Also, since I'm online, quickly, here's the Steuben County website. And to find out information about the Board of Elections, you go to the menu Departments and Services, Departments and Services A to D, and then over here to Board of Elections. And here's where you find your voting information, including the address for the Board of Elections, their phone number, the different ways you can vote. So I urge you to check those out. About this weekly video cast, send an email to me. My email address is reimerl@stls.org, and I will get back to you. You can also, of course, alternately check out our website found at ssclibrary.org. Just a reminder, the library will be reopening in our home building at 300 Civic Center Plaza Corning this next Monday, October 26, 2020. We will be open so that you can come in and browse. You'll be limited to 20 minutes worth of browse time, but you will be able to come in and select books and DVDs. Our new hours will be Mondays and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. We will be closed on Sundays, and on Wednesdays we will be closed to the general public, but open for pre-registered students from 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. to accommodate the Corning Painted Post School District's virtual learning days. And as usual, if you have questions, feel free to call the library. And that is the end of Library Connections content for this week. What follows are the informational credits. The credits include links to articles used to create this week's video, directions as to how to access the library's website, catalogs, blogs, and social media pages, and the library's contact information. Library resources you can access from homepage 1. Going clockwise from the top left-hand corner, we see the library's website found at ssclibrary.org. You can find out information about the library, library materials, and services through our website. You can also access our calendar of events through our website. In the top right-hand corner, we see the Schedule a Curbside Appointment page, which you can also access through our website. But if you want to go directly there, it's ssclibrary.org/appointment, because you can indeed still schedule an appointment for curbside pickup. And the little photo at the bottom of your screen shows you StarCat, the catalog of physical library materials, print books, DVDs, music CDs. So if you'd like to search for materials yourself and place holds on them yourself through StarCat, you may do so. If you prefer to have library staff do that, that also is a possibility. Please feel free to call us. Again, area code 607-936-3713. Library resources you can access from homepage 2. On the left side of the page, we see the digital catalog, the web version, found at stls.overdrive.com. You can go there to check out eBooks and downloadable audiobooks, and if you'd like, download them to your computer. You can also send eBooks to your Kindle, both through the web version of the digital catalog or through the Libby or OverDrive apps. But if you're just reading on a traditional e-reader, like a Kindle Paperwhite, I would just use the web version of the digital catalog and then send the ebook you want to read to your Kindle. Beneath the photo of the digital catalog, we see the Libby and OverDrive apps available in your app store. For newer devices, use the Libby app. If you have an older device, use the OverDrive app. We can ask the staff for details on that. On the right side of the page, we see the Hoopla digital catalog. There's a Hoopla app available for mobile devices and for smart TVs. The Hoopla catalog features instant checkouts of titles, which means there are no holds and no waiting periods. You can get eBooks, audiobooks, comic books, TV shows, and movies, and I think I've forgotten one category. Oh yes, albums. 4 checkouts are available per patron per month, and everything in the catalog is instantly available. Also of note, you have to have a Corning library card to use the Hoopla catalog. So your library card should be orange and have the prefix 10014. The library of blogs full of fun content. We've got a blog for our book club for adults, which is found at SSCLbook.club. That's a monthly book club that meets via Zoom right now. Our Corning NY History blog is our local history blog, which features new photos of local items of interest each week. Creation Stationery is the Makerspace blog. Story Musings is the blog hosted by the library's resident author and head of adult services, Michelle Wells. And Tech and Book Talk is a general readers and viewers and listeners advisory blog found at sscltech.com. Occasionally, and as you may have guessed, I host that particular blog. Occasionally I do put in tech tips, but mostly it's suggested reading and listening and viewing. If you have questions about library services during the pandemic or want to make an appointment for curbside pickup, you are welcome to go the traditional route and simply give us a call. Our telephone number is area code 607-936-3713, and yes, I like large print. Social media. Just a weekly reminder, you can connect with the library, read library news, and post questions to the library via social media. The library has pages on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. In relation, each video in this series is available on demand via the library's YouTube channel after it has first been shown on Facebook Live. And here we briefly have our references of the week. And that's the program for this week. I'll be back next week with another edition of Library Connections. Have a great weekend.